The optics are not great. Police Scotland preserving the home of Nicola Sturgeon as a crime scene. What appears to be evidence bagged up and taken from the house. And in the back garden, officers photograph more objects, put them into bags, take them away.
So any leg in particular?
What's your better leg?
A tricky balancing act already then for her successor Humza Yousaf, visiting a Glasgow health centre this morning and left to make the toe-curling statement of the obvious.
I was told this morning after the event, and of course my reaction, as you'd imagine, much like anybody involved in the SNP, is that this is a difficult day for the party. But again, I just reiterate and emphasise it's so important for me not to comment on a live police investigation.
The former First Minister's husband and former Chief Executive of the SNP, Peter Murrell, arrested early this morning. Neighbours say Nicola Sturgeon left the couple's home just after 8 a.m. The police arrived about 8:30. Since then, protective tents and anything up to 10 officers present at the address just east of Glasgow. Across in Edinburgh, the SNP party headquarters getting the same treatment. Subtle it was not. As officers trooped into the building, a stone's throw from the Scottish Parliament itself. Police Scotland have been investigating SNP party finances for 20 months now. That probe arises out of complaints about just what happened to £600,000. That was raised by activists between 2017 and 2020 to help the party fight a second independence referendum. Nicola Sturgeon was asked about this police investigation at her resignation press conference.
You've mentioned some things. The only thing you didn't mention is the police inquiry into the party's finances.
Look, these things are not the reason I'm standing here today. These are not factors, nor will my decision today affect these things, and all of these things will take their course.
With proceedings active, police are limited in what they can say and warn people against social media speculation. Their statement said,
"A 58-year-old man has today been arrested as a suspect in connection with the ongoing investigation into the funding and finances of the Scottish National Party. The man is in custody and is being questioned by Police Scotland detectives."
In her resignation speech as First Minister, Nicola Sturgeon paid tribute to her husband.
Firstly, my husband and family. Few people understand the price families of politicians pay for the jobs we choose to do. Mine have been my rock throughout.
Peter Murrell was Chief Executive of the SNP for more than 20 years. He resigned last month from the post he'd held since 1999, and he went after taking responsibility for reporting to the media about party membership numbers.
We have a lot of work to do and get on with.
All that just one day after the party's head of communications left as part of the same row, leaving the party president appalled.
I think it's fair to say that there is a tremendous mess and we have to clear it up.
And all of that on top of a leadership election which surprised many with its lacerating public divisions and personal insults. The SNP put out a statement today saying it is cooperating fully with the police investigation, and at its meeting on Saturday, the governing body of the SNP, the NEC, agreed to a review of governance and transparency. That will be taken forward in the coming weeks. Party leader then, married to party chief executive. Unusual, almost unique. It attracted criticism from many, including former party boss Alex Salmond. For some, it symbolised the rigid control on the party that its leaders wielded, ruthlessly effective in its day. Today, in the grey relentless rain of Greater Glasgow, the symbolism feels utterly different.
Well, we asked the SNP and the Scottish Government for an interview, but nobody was available. Earlier, I spoke to former SNP Cabinet Secretary Alex Neil, an opponent of the current First Minister Humza Yousaf, and started by asking what today's news means for the SNP's fortunes.
Well, it's certainly not good for our political fortunes, and I think it could do us some damage. Obviously, it depends what transpires, but it's certainly not going to be good for the SNP, and we'll need to deal with the consequences of any developments.
What do you think it tells us about Nicola Sturgeon's stated reasons for departing?
Well, I think everybody will think that this was certainly a factor in why she suddenly resigned when she did. If that's the case, then the big question would be, well, why was the subsequent leadership election rushed against the party's rules, which said it should have been a much longer leadership election campaign? And obviously, it raises a lot of questions that will need to be answered through time.
I mean, you're obviously well known as a sort of, you were opposed to Hamza Yusuf. Are you saying that if this had happened during an election campaign, we'd have seen a different result?
I think you probably would, because Hamza was a continuity candidate. And I think given everything that's happened in the last couple of weeks, the last thing the party would have wanted was continuity in that sense. But I don't think there's any realistic proposal to rerun the leadership election.
What do you think it does in general for Scottish politics to have the former First Minister's house being searched by the police and to have a tent and police lines up outside?
Well, the minute any police are involved in any political situation at all, it's not good news for the politics of any country. There is a general feeling abroad in the country, north and south of the border, that perhaps the calibre of politicians we have isn't what it used to be. And obviously, this kind of development, rightly or wrongly, feeds into that general view. So it's not good. It's not good for the politics of the country. It's not good for the political classes. I think the problem the SNP has had, and this is a problem other political parties have as well, is that for far too long now, we've allowed one person to rule the roost. I always thought it was a bad idea for the leader of the party and the chief executive to be a married couple, because it's not good governance. You wouldn't expect that to happen in a large company. And I don't believe it was right in a political party. And I think the mistake that was made by Nicola was that she should have taken the advice she was given at the time when she was elected leader. And that advice was that it would not be good governance for Peter to remain as the chief executive. And irrespective of the outcome of these events today, I think many people for the last 8 years think that that was good advice, and it was advice she should have taken at the time.
Alex Neil, thank you very much.
Pleasure.